All righty, let's do a show. This is the Convo. Norman, London, Mike in Buffalo, Season 8, Episode 12, November 30th, 2025. The Leafs coming off a 7-2 win in Pittsburgh over the listless Penguins. Thank you, Artur Sheloff, for having such a terrible game to start. And Mike, if there was an offensive outburst that you wanted to happen, last night's game was it. You had your rookie scoring, you had scoring from the blue line, the pluggers scored, and Austin Matthews finally scoring a goal in his latest return from injury. The result, a 7-2 win over the Pens. Dennis Hildeby with 33 stops. The Leafs 2-2 on the 6-game road swing. Things aren't that great, but I guess after last night, they're not that bad either. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Norm. Oh, it was a necessary victory because of what happened on Friday night, where Joseph Woll kept the Leafs in a game for 2 periods, and then his teammates sort of let him down. The narrative that I'm gonna harp on today is the goaltending. Last night in the victory over the Penguins, Hildeby was excellent early and needed to be. And then as the team, got the offense finally chugging along, then it was less important. But early on, he made some big saves. He made a breakaway save on Blake Lizotte. And I'm just thinking, this is the guy that you picked up a piece of crap like Caden Primo instead of. I will always be scratching my head, and not Caden Primo. I shouldn't say that, because Caden Primo was 2-1 when he was with the Leafs. It was the adherence to playing into the dirt Anthony Stolarz early in the season and not playing Dennis Hildeby more games, or not playing Caden Primo more games, because that led to Stolarz getting hurt.
This is the Convo. Norman, London, Mike in Buffalo. Like the content, subscribe to the channel. So you're attributing running Anthony Stolarz out night in and night out, and having this guy who's not even with the team now back him up while Dennis Hildeby was toiling in the minors, as reasons for the Leafs' plight as it stands at the end of November 2025.
Yeah, I mean, and this is rehashing things a little bit because, we're talking about the opening month of the season, but I think it's key to what's happened so far. So the decision was made after, and we didn't know how long Joseph Woll was going to be on his leave of absence, but yeah, I know, Greg, he was 2-1. And the third game that he played was one of the worst goaltending performances I've seen in recent memory. But that's not the point.
Couldn't have Hildeby been 2-1 in those games if he had given the chance?
And the point I'm trying to make to Greg and to everybody is the decision was made before the beginning of the season to claim Caden Primo. Now, that was decision one, because there were other goalies out there like Colton Ellis, who could be the starter for the Sabres right now, that could have been claimed. But they went with Caden Primo, who's been a career backup with Montreal. They claimed him off of waivers. And why? Because now their reason may have been, well, we want to keep Hildeby down in the minors, and we want to, make sure he gets a lot of work and whatever. But he had a good training camp, so there was there should have been a lot of confidence that he could handle. And he played in the NHL last year. Should have been a lot of confidence that he could handle the work. But what I think it was, and what was played out in that month of October, is they had 3 back-to-backs. Primo played in the second of back-to-backs in each one, and they played Stolarz every other game. And that's the problem, because he can't do it.
So other than you being pissed off about it, Mike, how does any of that, we know how it impacted the standings, but going forward, what does it matter now?
Well, I think it's a clue into the decision making, and the thing is, we don't know if it's the decision making of Brad Treliving or the decision making of Craig Berube. It might, or both, but I think it's more Berube, because he has had a habit going back to his stint with the Philadelphia Flyers, where he falls in love with one goaltender and plays him to death. He did it with,
Right.
I think it was Steve Mason. He obviously did that with Jordan Binnington over his tenure with St. Louis. And Jordan Binnington is a very good goaltender. Steve Mason, not as much. Anthony Stolarz, I'm not saying he's not a good goalie. He's not a starter. He cannot play the workload. And obviously they didn't learn from their mistakes last year.
They thought he could. It backfired, blew up in their face, and this is why the Leafs are, second last in the conference. I mean, it might be temporarily, but it's not an ideal start, and there are a lot of reasons that we can point at as the overall situation being not as great as you'd like it to be. Mr. Augello, let me go to Spike 11. Spike, thanks for being here. And Mr. Spike, last night was a fluke win, but still nice to see the depth show some life. I mean, what was so fluky about it? The Pens just didn't show up, and the Leafs took advantage of it. It's not like they scored a seeing eye goal with seconds to go. That after being completely outshot and outclassed the entire night. I mean, the Pens did outshoot the Leafs, but they certainly didn't outclass them. The Leafs looked like they had that game in the bag from the time OEL scored over Shelov's shoulder, and it just didn't look very good from the Pens' perspective. And the Leafs, they got some wins.
Well, it's favorable that everybody is playing this ridiculous loaded schedule because of the Olympics, whereas Pittsburgh is playing 3 games in 4 nights, and so is Toronto. Sometimes it's imbalanced. Sometimes one team is rested, one team is not. Pittsburgh did not have a good game at all. They gave up that early goal to Ekman Larson. They come back, they tied on the power play, and the Leafs showed some fortitude, get it right back with the goal from Cowan, and then they lengthened the lead in the second period. You have to take advantage of teams when they're not playing well. Svelovs didn't play well. He allowed a goal on his first shot. And the Leafs got good goaltending from Hildeby. And, I'm not saying goaltending is everything, but it's a lot. Sometimes goaltending can save you and earn you points that you don't deserve, like the game in Columbus. Joseph Woll was phenomenal. They almost got a point out of a game that they had no business being in the lead in. They were leading 2-1 deep into the third period. Right. Of a game where I think the shots were like 34-12. It was some ridiculous amount, and Woll was great. And then finally they crumbled not under the pressure. They crumbled because they're not a very good defensive team right now, and their blue line is significantly injured, and I think that's a factor. When you're playing Simone Benoit 20 plus minutes, and he didn't play on Saturday. So my singling out of Simone Benoit,
right?
It was not injury. it was because he didn't play. They played Philippe Myers, who's not a good defenseman. So it's sort of like Russian roulette when it comes to their blue line right now. Troy Stetcher, Dakota Mermis, Philippe Myers, Simone Benoit. This is a far cry from Brandon Carlo and Chris Tanev. And the big difference this year not only was the inconsistent goaltending in the first month or 5 weeks of the season, it's been that their defense has been decimated by injuries.
Are you saying, though, if the Leafs are going to make any strides northward in the standings, it's not going to happen overnight? And right now, are they simply in survival mode with last night's result being a step in the right direction?
Well, they're 2-2, as you said, on the 6-game road swing. They have Carolina and Florida. I think they need to have 3 of a possible 4 points in those 2 games. I said that this 6-game road swing was the key to their season. If they went 2-4 or 1-5, the season was over with. The thing, if you look at the Eastern Conference standings, and normally I adhere to the philosophy of if you're not in a playoff spot at American Thanksgiving, you're toast. And you would think that it would be more the case this year with the loaded schedule. But if you look at it, the Leafs playing as crappy as they have, as inconsistently as they have, they're 4 points out of a playoff spot. They're 4 points out of the wild card. They're 4 points out of third.
Mike, they're playing at a point per game clip. They're 4, as you said, 4 points out of a wild card spot. And the team that holds that second wild card spot, they just kick the shit out of.
Right. And the team that is 1 point ahead of them is the team that they lost the lead in the third period to the Washington Capitals. So had they
Right.
had won that game, they would
Right.
have, that they would have been 2 points closer to both of those teams. They would have, and Washington would have been 2 points less. So
But
that was a
surviving
loss.
surviving also means that they need to continue to, whether slowly or abruptly, could accrue points. Right? We've seen this team in years past not necessarily play well, but win 6 of 10. You can't have this team starting to look better, but lose 6 of 10. Is if that's what I'm understanding you're trying to get across here.
Well, yeah. Okay, they're 3-7 on the road. They were 1-7 going into
Right.
this road trip, or 1-6
Okay.
going into this road trip. Now they're three. Now they're three and or yeah. Now they're 3-7. Um, they need to get to at least 500 by the end of the year, and right now you're 4 games under. So you need to start compiling points on the road. Where you've not been good, and at home, I think it was 8-4-3. I mean, that's not great. That's 7 losses, but you got
Hmm.
3 loser points, and you need to be 750 at home and 500 on the road to make the playoffs. And since they've gotten off to a bad start and a below average start at home and a bad start on the road, they have ground to make up. But you look at the Eastern Conference, and like I said, they're not out of it when normally in normal years they would be or should be out of it.
I don't know. What do you see, Mike? If the Leafs are to put themselves in a position to make the playoffs, will it be as a wild card team, or do you think at some point, especially after the Olympics, they'll get it together and finish in the top three?
I mean, right now you're just hoping to get in by hook or by crook. And you don't care if it's the top 3 spot in
Is
the
it too early? Is it too
yeah.
early for you to tell where they're going to end up?
Yes, I mean, the thing, you look at the standings right now, and they're at 25 points, and Tampa Bay, who is almost more devastated with injuries than Toronto is, they're at 34 points. They're
But they're on a
9
heater too, seven
right,
seven straight wins. So I
right,
mean, we know that's not, like, again, it's realistic, but it's not sustainable.
right, and that's my point. My point is that they're gonna come back. But if you look at the rest of the division, Toronto's at 25, Boston's at 30. Montreal's at 29.
Right.
Montreal has really taken a step back after having that really hot season. And I think that's because they're a flawed team. Now they have a great first line. They have a couple good defensemen. Their goaltending is not good. I don't think their goaltending is as good as Toronto's goaltending, and their lineup depth is
Right.
not great. So they're catchable.
And
Boston,
they're a -5, so that says a lot about their inability to keep the puck out of their own net, Mike. But what I'm wondering though is if you had to bet on this team, either scraping and clawing and fighting its way into a playoff spot through the wild card, or somehow reemerging as a top team in the division, which, based on what you're seeing, I wanted to kind of get an idea from you of, look, we love the Leafs and we want them to make the playoffs, but if they're going to do it this time around, it's not going to be as a division champion.
oh, I don't think it's going to be his division champion. Going into the season, I said that they were going to finish second or third in the
Right.
Atlantic, and I think that they still can finish second or third in the Atlantic if they get their head on straight. If they're going to need to get Brandon Carlo back pretty soon. They're going to need to get Tanev back
What are
and
you
have.
talking about? What are you talking about? They want half the fan base, or most of the fan base, wants him traded.
Well, oh, okay,
Anyway,
yeah,
okay, let me get to some comments here because I haven't seen Chris Daniels in quite some time. Chris,
yeah,
welcome back. Last night, and this shows how we react to things. When the team really sucks and the guys aren't really doing well, or our perception is that they're not playing well, we want them out of town. And then when they're a part of something that's successful, like last night, is why you don't trade Dakota. That's what he brings in the playoffs. Okay, and then Greg Knight. Stetcher was a good pickup,
yeah.
moves the puck well, and Murmis was very
Mervis.
physical, right? So when the team is doing well, we can find ways to look at this group with a more positive lens, whether they deserve it or not, right? There are times where a player is exposed because of a bad play, a bad situation that lends to something negative in the game, the team loses. But throughout the game, they played really well. So we're gonna metastasize and we're gonna exacerbate the wrong in that moment and say we hate that player. Whereas last night they were all these guys look great because it was part of a 7-2 win, right? And it just goes the ups and downs with this group, which is a bit different than what we've had to deal with over the last 6, 7, 8 years, where for the most part the team won and everybody either looked really good or we didn't like the way that they were winning because we had won so much and we were expecting development within that success.
No, we didn't like what they did in the playoffs, which is suck ass. They didn't show up in the playoffs. They were a great regular season team, but they could not perform when it counted. That was the whole thing. Now, right now you're saying, well, the regular season is important. Nobody is saying that the regular season isn't important. And to go back to, I think it was Chris Daniels' comment about Dakota Joshua. He really wasn't playing the way Dakota Joshua has played for most of his career, lesser in St. Louis, but more in Vancouver. He's a big guy. He's a physical guy. He needs to play that way. That's what the Leafs thought that they were getting when they traded for him. And really, he's been sort of tentative the first month. Now, okay, you're back with a new team, or you're transitioning from to a new team. That's understandable. But at a certain point, he needed to play with the physicality that he did when he scored 17 goals with Vancouver. And I think in the last few games he has. And that's what they need out of him. Mm-hmm. They don't need him to score 30 goals. They need him to beat people into submission, not fighting, but physically pounding them against the wall, being in front of the net, causing chaos. That's what they need him to do. And he's a decent defensive player when he does that. When he's playing tentative, he's a liability out there. So they need him to play that way, and they need more players to step up. And I don't know if Stetcher was a good pickup because it was found money. Dakota Mermis is not an NHLer. As a stopgap, fine, but I don't think he's a very good. But the problem is that right now you probably have playing on your roster, you have at least 2 defensemen, I think 3, that are not NHL defensemen.
And that's part of a season, man. That's part of a season. You win the ring. There are guys who you would give the ring to, but are already with other organizations because they were with you for a cup of coffee, but because they had to hold the fort down or be a placeholder while somebody was getting healthy or trying to figure out their shit. Brendan Griffith, 1681. Mike and Norm, how about giving Calgary a 28 and 29 first plus 28 and 28 second for Kadri and Anderson at 50% retention each. Add offense and get a puck moving D. The pressure is on. They will be active with trades. Oh my goodness.
Okay, Brendan, I say this with all due respect. Eat me. That trade is.
I was getting you going, Mike.
Yeah, please. And I need my blood flowing at Sunday morning. I mean, I'm sorry. I do not ever want, if they gave Nazem Kadri to us for free, we're 50% retained, I would not want that guy on my team after he screwed this team out of 2 playoffs. That's what he did. I never want him and wearing blue and white again. If other fans may want to, I don't. Rasmus Anderson, I like, but I'm sorry. How much more can you mortgage the future with this team? You're trading 28 and 29 first round picks. Give me a break, please. Stop it. I mean, there are trades that can be made out there, and I'm saying that they can get defensemen, and but they're gonna have to trade from players off of their roster. And
what dramatic can be done? These big guys aren't going anywhere. What can be done that's so dramatic that it shakes the hockey world to its core, and it changes the Maple Leafs and its course for years to come.
That's why. That's why. That's like when we brought up the Quinn Hughes stuff. That's why I laughed, because that's never happening. I mean, you would be dumb to trade Matthew Nyes, who you have on a very, I think, decent contract, and it's going to age better because he's 23 years old and he's making
7%.
Right. So why would you trade him for 2 years of Quinn Hughes? Because Quinn Hughes is not signing here. He's not.
Because fans just want a deal. They just want a deal, and it's insane. It would be insane. I mean, Spike 11, Carlo and Lawton can be flipped. okay, so they were flipped for picks, and they're just so damn contentious now. And Fraser Minton, right?
No,
You trade these guys out, nothing you'll get back is better than what you gave away.
Spike is right, and
Okay,
in this sense, if the season goes badly, if they
sure.
lose the
There
next
you go.
2 games on the road, and they have a bad December, and they're clearly out of it, then there are players. Then we're talking about a reset. You're not trading Riley, you're not trading Tavares and Nyes and Matthews and Nylander. You're trading Carlo, who's got another year left in his contract.
Sure.
You're trading Lawton, who is an expiring contract. You see if you can find a home for Max Domi. You're not trading your kids. If you get good value on Nicolas Waugh, a right shot center who's got another year left in his contract, he's a big guy with a lot of playoff experience. You could get draft picks, you could get prospects. I mean, you sort of have to restock the shelves. But the thing is that there's only one problem. You're not going to be able to restock the shelves in free agency because no one is left.
Okay, can you restock the shelves partly and still make an attempt to achieve the postseason? I think you can.
It's very tough. I mean, it's
So Carlo, Lawton, and Waugh, you get rid of those guys for younger assets to come down the line, maybe a player or two back. You can't scrape and claw and put yourself in the mix to earn
no,
a
because
wild card spot.
you're only trading those guys if you're assuming that you're not in the playoff race anymore. I'm talking about trading before the deadline, trading before the Olympic break, and only trading those guys if you're out of it. If you're not out of it, you don't trade them.
Okay. God is gracious. Forget about the postseason. It's time to rebuild. I mean, the word rebuild is, that's an explosive word because rebuild can mean a lot. Like, what do you mean by rebuild? Just tear it all fucking down and start from scratch? A
Again,
rebuild has a variety of ways that we can interpret what that means.
yeah, I mean, if you're talking about tearing it down to the studs like they did in 2015 and 2016, that's not happening because you have Matthews and Nylander, Nyes and Tavares and Riley. It's like, and they all have no moves, or in the case of Nyes, he has no trade protection, but you're not going to trade a 23-year-old who's really good. I mean, that's a core piece that you want to build around. And again, Matthews and Nylander are in their 20s. They're not over the hill. You could reset, and that's the term, reset. You could reset and be a playoff team in a year or two. There have been teams but it's more difficult now because of the point that I was just making. Okay. Adrian Kempe signed. Kaprizov signed. McDavid signed. All these. Who are the two biggest free? I'll say who are the three biggest free agents going right now for next July the 1st. One is Artemi Panarin, who's 34 years old. Two is Alex Tuck, who is going to get way overpaid either by Buffalo or by a team in free agency if he doesn't get traded and that team signs him. And three is Nick Schmaltz. Nobody. There's nothing out there.
Yeah, Schmaltz.
Nothing. I mean, Nick Schmaltz is having a great year, but my point is that you're going to either overpay for these guys or and then they're not worth it, or I'm sorry, it says like you cannot you can make targeted quality free agent signings, like guys who get bought, guys who get how should I say it, their contract, the non-qualified guys like Matt Duchene or who are bought out, I mean, those are possibilities. I mean, somebody in the chat, and I would be all for this. I don't think Matthias Micheli is a good fit right now. I don't think he's really played that well.
Doesn't seem like Berube believes that either.
Right. And now, okay, how about another team that is clearly looking to shake things up, like the Nashville Predators, and get a guy who played in Toronto and played well in Toronto? and that's how about Matthias Michelli for Michael Bunting? I think Nashville would do that deal. I don't know if Toronto would because, Bunting, as he left, he was, well, he had all these penalties. Yeah. And right. And I think that's like, I like Bunting.
But
You could
he didn't play for Berube,
No,
so
he didn't play for Berube. I think he's a Berube type player.
okay.
He's an annoying
Well,
little sniveler, and I like players like that. He
right.
gets under, and please, now, does he get penalties called on him? Yes, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives when it comes to Bunting. I would be all for trading for him.
Did he want to leave Toronto?
No,
Like
I think.
obviously, Ryan O'Reilly's over there too, and he couldn't wait to get the hell out of Toronto
Well,
after a
remember,
short stint.
he went to Pittsburgh. He went to Pittsburgh. Oh no, he went to Carolina. Then he went to Pittsburgh, and he's been. But he signed a contract with Carolina, and it sounded like Toronto really wanted to move on from him because he was getting singled out by the referees as a diver, as this, as that, and I don't. Yeah, thank you. But
Don't inflate his.
I
Don't
would have
inflate
never.
his ego. The first thing he would do is he would. What is that little the bronze statue in front of Scotiabank Arena
Oh, I
with all of the players? What do they call that?
legends, or I would melt Matt
That's
Sundin's
exactly what he would do,
and,
Spike.
and
That's
burn
exactly what he would do.
and burn his thing
You
hanging
vindictive
from the
bastard,
rafters.
you.
Yep,
You angry old man. I swear to
yep,
God.
yep,
Let
yep.
it
There you
go.
go.
Let it go. You know what's
Never,
funny? If we
never.
did if look, and again, I'm not gonna do this, but if we put out a poll, who's the better captain, Austin Matthews or Matt Sundin? Matt Sundin would win going away. Everybody knows it.
Right,
Anyway,
because
okay, speaking of Austin Matthews, his first goal since his return from his latest injury, but quintessential Austin Matthews, just coming down the wing, wrist shot, boom. Like, I mean, the Penn's goaltending, whether it was Shvilov or Jari, they couldn't stop a medicine ball last night. However, that's what Austin Matthews needed. And that was a nice little goal. And again, no one's expecting this guy to put up 4, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4 goals a night. But one here, one there, two here, just kind of getting moving.
mhm.
That was a nice little goal. And Easton Cowan, too, a little back and forth with William Nylander. Beautiful little goal. His third on the season, playing primetime kind of minutes.
Yeah.
So that was, I mean, positives.
Well, for first on Matthews, I mean, I don't think it's a crisis of confidence. I think it's been health, obviously. Now,
But
hopefully,
he scored. He scored a
oh,
goal,
right,
and
right,
it was a Matthews type goal.
right, and that's encouraging, and they need more of that. And I said, this team needs Matthews to score 50 goals. Now he's got 10, so he's got a lot of work in front of him. So that they're going to need him to score, the occasional hat trick or a couple goals, just to because the offense, when William Nylander is out, the offense isn't very deep. It's like you moving up Nick Robertson to the top line, and
Yeah.
John Tavares is playing between Bobby McMahon and Collie Yarn or Easton Cowan. There's not a lot of depth there. So you need Matthews in the lineup. You need Nylander in the lineup. You need Tavares playing the way Tavares has played. With Cowan, I mean, there's, and Berube has said this, he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. He's a good player. He definitely is. But you have to sort of wade through those mistakes. Like against Washington, he was -3. The Tavares line was -3, and that cost them the game. Last night, he was responsible for a giveaway on the power play where he tried to walk through the defense. It ended up going on the Blake Lizotte breakaway that could have turned the game around.
So how do we view him? How do we view him
He's a rookie.
versus? But how do we view him versus Nick Robertson? Right? Are we thinking that look, Easton Cowan wasn't drafted just to be an offensive dynamo. He has defensive capability. Obviously, coming through the Knight system, you can't play there unless you can play 3-zone 200 feet. I go on about it all the time. Are they viewing him in the way of look, he's just a kid. He's going to make mistakes. Let him make mistakes. We're going to get some good things along the way. Whereas Mr. Robertson scored last night, kind of picked the defenseman's pocket and scored a goal. But it's 10 minutes of ice time. Is he just essentially castigated and kind of pigeonholed as a one type of player and will always be that? unless there's some, huge revelation at some point, versus a guy in Cowan who's going to make the same kind of mistakes, but there's a belief there's a greater upside there, or they wouldn't have drafted him.
One guy is 20 and there's room for growth. The other guy is 24. And I think once you're at that point in your career, you're pretty much, you are what you are. Now, what he is, talking about Robertson, is valuable, meaning he can score.
The Leafs need offense, and he can score.
But the thing is that, okay, if it's counterbalanced by him being defensively inept, then the scoring is worth less. And so you need him to be able to at least be average defensively and not be a liability, and to be able to score. Now, he's played almost exclusively in the top six, up until recently, up until like last night. I think he played fourth line, because Nylander was back. And they moved Domi up and put him back in the lineup, and they had Domi on the right side. Fourth line is not going to do it for you. To take advantage of his offensive skills, you need to play him at least in the top 9 and give him minutes. But if they're at the point now where they can't trust him with more than 12 or 13 minutes, then I think he's pretty relegated to what he is. And then, I don't know how much trade value he has. Like, there might be a team out there that gives him more of an opportunity than Toronto would.
Yeah, the offensive capability has always been tantalizing, but if you can't play both sides of the puck, you're not going to get the ice time you need to really begin to kind of come out of yourself and take your game to the next level. It's a weird situation. I mean, eventually he's probably going to get dealt or moved. Another team is going to see that he could score, and then all of his deficiencies are going to slap them in the face.
Would you do Nick Robertson for Michael Bunting? I would.
100%. 100%. What else do you want to get at here, Mike? I mean, look, Max Domi got 2 points against Pittsburgh. That game was just meant to be. It was the right time, right place for the Leafs to go on a run, score 7 goals, everybody get involved, players getting off the schneid, players scoring for the first time in a long time, other ones, doing the job that they've been asked to do on a nightly basis and haven't been able to, and then finally kind of coming through. And then, nice for Dennis Hill to build some positivity and some confidence. I don't know what else you want to get at here. I mean, like, you're not ranting and raving this show.
No,
we're not ranting and raving.
Well, I'll just touch on Domi, because Domi was healthy scratched against Washington. And why was he healthy scratched? Because against Columbus, now I'm not going to blame the Werenski goal on Domi, but there was a play in the third period where he could not win a battle along the wall, and it resulted in Wall having to stand on his head and make 2 unbelievable saves to keep the game within reach. I think this was before Cowan scored the tying goal. This is a veteran guy. Okay, he's never going to be Bob Gainey. He's never going to be Patrice Bergeron and be a defensive. But you need these players to be able to just do basic defensive things. Now, I will defend Domi in this respect. He's not been a center. He's never been a good center. Playing him at center does not do him any favors.
Is that one of the reasons why he only has 8 points? And is that maybe potentially another reason why, like, I'm not saying he's checked out, but I mean, who gives a shit if he sits in the fucking press box? It's not like he's really cared to be on the ice this season. 8 points in 24 games, just signing a contract. Like, you're cashing in, you're back at home, your dad's watching every night. Like, do you care anymore? I mean, you're a veteran. Figure it out, man. This team needs you. If not, I don't know, fucking retire.
Well, I mean,
and again, it's just, it's like, what else can you say? Unless it's that playing center has just been, it's so prohibitive for any kind of success for him. And this is, another reason why that, he's had the struggles that he's had this season, because it's been abysmal.
We know plus minus is a flawed statistic, but when there's a wide differentiation, it exposes the truth. And when, players like Nick Robertson is -4. Okay. He has 12 points and he's -4. Okay. Max Domi has 8 points and he's -13. I don't know what the plus minus statistics are in the NHL, but that's probably one of the worst plus minuses for forwards in the league. So, and this is a guy who's not playing, he's playing third line center, fourth line center, and he's that much of a liability. Now, okay, he was playing the wing. He was playing the wing on Wednesday against Columbus. So last night he was playing the wing. I think you limit his defensive issues if you play him on the wing, if you play him with Matthews, who's a responsible defensive player. But you need to find some use out of him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he does. I think he has a role in this team. He has a role as a scoring winger. He's a good playmaker. He has been in the past. He's had a good career.
So this goes back to Craig Berube. I mean, it's rah, sis, boom, bah. Let's go, boys. Slamming pans, flipping tables, go play hockey. But when you don't have those kinds of guys who need that to take them to the next level, and you actually have to coach. I mean, it hasn't been a clinic this season from anybody's perspective, maybe except with the exception of William Nylander from an offensive standpoint, especially the head coach. I mean, he's been some of his decisions have been really detrimental and are a reason why the Leafs are where they are in the standings. A few more points and let's get out of here.
Yeah, short of his 1 year with Montreal where he scored 28 goals, Max Domi is the highest goal scoring total was 18.
Why has he played for 7 teams?
You got me. All I know. Well, I mean, a couple of them were trades at the deadline. He was and he was signed to 1 year or short term contract.
But never a player that any team really wanted to lock down.
Right, and now he had 38 assists in his first year with the Leafs, and that earned him the long term contract. Last year, 25 assists. That's not bad, but only 8 goals. Right. This year, 5 assists. He needs to be the playmaker that he's capable of being. He still can skate. He still can pass.
Does he like playing center?
I don't think he's good at it. I don't care if he likes it.
So there you go. If he's not good at in a position you're putting him in, how the hell is he going to do anything of substance?
Well, I mean, like you said,
this goes back to Berube.
I would have explored other options other than playing Max Domi at center. When Lawton got hurt, the first default thing was put Max Domi at center. Why? He can't do it. I mean, call up Jacob Quillen. Play a kid on the fourth line. I think he's a quality player. I think he could be an NHLer. Maybe it's a little early for him, but he had 14 points with the Marlies. Play him. Play Domi on the wing and play Quillen. What is? I don't get it. You keep going back to putting Domi, and then you accentuate that by putting Domi and Robertson together. It's like that's just dumb. And I
still find it remarkable that NHLers who are making millions of dollars and are among the elite at what they do on this planet can't move over one position, or guys like are scoring dynamos but don't know how to play on the defensive end of the puck. Well, it's absolutely remarkable. You're the best at your craft, but you can only it's a micro craft. Don't ask me to do more. Pay me millions, but don't ask me to do more than what I need to accomplish outside of my comfort zone. And again, if I can't do it, it's the coach's fault for not empowering me to do exactly what I want, but nothing extra. Last point to you.
Somebody in the chat said Steve Yzerman learned how to play two-way hockey. That's a Hall of Famer. That's a guy who's drafted in the top 5 of the NHL draft.
And the system made sense too, did it not, in Detroit?
Right. They remember that team in '93 was a high-flying offensive team that the Leafs beat because they were better defensively and had better goaltending. But Yzerman learned he had to play two-way, and he was a great player and capable of doing it. I don't think you can put that argument in the same place with Nick Robertson and Max Domi. I think they're one-dimensional players, but you limit Max's defensive liabilities by playing him on the wing. And then, like I agree with this. Give him some runway and let him play on the wing with Matthews and Nyes. And then if you give him 20 games and he's still not good. Now, the thing is, you're not going to be able to trade him. He's got 2 years left in his contract. You're talking probably about buying him out in the summer. You're not going to save a lot of money. But if you think that he is just not a good fit with this team now, then that's what you're going to have to do, because all you're doing is you're going over the
Yeah.
same territory over and over with him.
Hey, chillin' 24/7, just for all the OGs and converts who are only listening. The comment in the chat, give Max some runway with Matthews and Nyes on the wing, and then let's make a decision. -13 isn't bad for an undersized scoring winger being asked to be a shutdown center, in my opinion. So he's miscast, and the result is pretty meager for a guy who has scored points in the past, warts and all. The thing about it, Mike, is we look at players who are out of place, or guys who can't play defense. Goaltenders, the carousel. Stolarz is going to be back. Hildeby's probably going to end up back in the minor leagues. To accomplish anything this season, they're going to need all hands on deck, right? And players with all kinds of deficiencies who we'd love to replace if we could. But that's just not going to happen. I think the big question for OGs and converts, if the Leafs are kind of toiling away, a couple of wins, a couple of losses, and then we get into the Olympic situation, and then after that it's the same kind of thing. And we may know more before then, but what would you rather? This team scrape and claw and make the playoffs, and I don't know, give us another look of from this group for something totally different from the past decade, or recognize that this is not going to be the year, and the accomplishments aren't going to be what the team wants collectively, and do the things that are required to set themselves up potentially to be better in the future. Last word to you, Mike, officially.
I mean, I think right now you're in a position where it's I think you can't make a decision on where this team is based on the first 24 or 25 games. I think you're going to have to wait further. You're going to have to see where they are as you get closer to the deadline. And then if you're 6-7 points out of a playoff spot at that point, then like we were saying before, then maybe trading Carlo, trading Michelli, trading Lawton, then you go. But you're never going to strip it down and rebuild. It's not happening. They don't have their draft picks. They can't rebuild because they've traded all their firsts. So they're going to be resetting. And
So
that's
why
the
not
only
pull
thing.
off I mean, again, there's a chance they could make the playoffs as a wild card team, but how good will they be? I mean, you have to weigh out and project
Some
where this
people,
team is going to end up. Why not actually take that initiative and say, hey, fan base, you're just going to have to deal with it. It's a reset, not a rebuild. We need to recoup some assets. This
it's
isn't going to be our year. We'll
it's
see you in 26, 27.
it's a tough argument to make right now, but there are some people, and I subscribe to this opinion, who think this team would be better in a playoff scenario than the teams in the past that have had regular season success. They're bigger. When they get their defensemen back, they might be better defensively. I don't know about better defensively because this team has played terrible defensively so far this season, but get into the playoffs and then see what happens, because the teams that got into the playoffs with no problem, we know how that happened.
Right.
We know what happened then.
When the expectation was high, the team certainly did not deliver. The last decade, 2 playoff wins. When you back your way in and everybody's against you in terms of their belief with what you can accomplish, then maybe you go on a run and do something that nobody thought you ever would. So I guess stay tuned. Mr. A, what the hell do you have going on your other mediums?
Oh, too much to say. Just go to Hockey Hot Stove and read Leaf stuff. Go to the Hockey News if you're interested in Buffalo Sabres stuff, which that might make Leaf fans more optimistic because the Sabres are a bigger train wreck than they are.
But they're still contemporaries right now in terms of how they sit in the standings. Biff and Hap, nice to see you, man. Rogers won't be happy with the Leafs missing the playoffs. Of course not. And that's where Keith Pelly's going to step in, right? But you've said it, Mike. The team is not that great, but not enough of a train wreck to completely pump the brakes and get a reset going. Only time will tell. OG's converts, like the content, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you very much. If you're on TikTok, follow us over there. I cut up our show into shorts. They're all over YouTube. They're all over TikTok. Whatever we can do to spread the word, we will do that, and you help us immensely. Mr. A, have a great day today, man. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
OG's Converse. The Leafs Convo is out. We'll see you soon.